Welcome back to 30 Days of Lightroom. In this video, we're going to be covering our Calibration tab or panel over here on the right-hand side of our interface. A lot of people get confused with this panel, and don't worry, we're going to jump right into it and talk all about our red, green, and blue sliders and what they do to our image and different ways that you can use this tab or panel. So let's hop right into this Lightroom Classic tutorial. Now, a lot of people get this Calibration tab kind of confused with our HSL. And while they do some similar edits to colors, they work in slightly different ways. Your HSL tab or panel will only affect colors within a limited range. For example, if I want to edit my red hues, you can see here, I am just editing my red hues. Nothing is happening to my blue or my greens in my image. Double click to reset that. The same thing if I were to edit my aquas, you can see my reds and my oranges are not being affected. Whereas if I go down to my calibration panel here at the bottom and I start playing with my green primary slider, you can see my oranges, my reds, my blues, everything is being affected. And same thing if I play with my red primary hue slider, you can see the blues, the greens, everything is being affected. So HSL affects a limited amount of pixels within a hue range, and your calibration will affect all of your pixels and all of your colors. So that is the big difference that I want to get out of the way early. So we can go ahead, close our HSL tab, and take a look at our Calibration tab or Calibration panel. So what exactly is the Calibration panel used for? There's really two ways that you can use it. You can use it to calibrate your image, and I'll talk about that here in a second. Let's take a look at a portrait. Now I took this portrait, let's turn our Calibration panel off. I took this portrait at the Renaissance Fair, and although it looks pretty good, the skin tones and the reds in this image just aren't exactly where I want them to be. I want to warm them up a little bit, and I want to do some overall editing to the color of this image and the feel of this image. Go ahead, turn our calibration on, and you can see I went in here and I made some minor edits to warm up the skin. So we can take a look at the before image. This is completely raw, and while our white balance may be correct, it doesn't quite feel right. So let's take a look at the before and after with calibration turned off. So here's the before. Again, our white balance is correct, but the skin tones feel very cool. It was on a very bright, clear, sunny day with no clouds, so it was a very cool image. I did warm it up a little bit, and then we can see here our calibration. I wanted to really make these reds pop in the dress and fix those skin tones because Ashley has some warm skin tones, and I think that looks a lot better. So that is one instance I will use the calibration tab. It's great for making minor tweaks to the skin tones and getting them exactly the way you want. You may notice all cameras interpret color slightly differently. For example, a lot of people love Canon's warm skin tones, and all of that can really be interpreted here in your calibration panel. And it doesn't really matter what camera you're shooting with, you can make edits to your calibration, and it's a great way to match different cameras together if you need to match photos. So that is one way you can use calibration to make major or minor tweaks to the interpretation of the RGB channels of your image. Another way, which is my favorite way, is to actually do some color grading using your calibration panel. So we have a cool image here of some rocks in Colorado. Let's take a look at what those look like before calibration. This is what the actual scene looked like to my eyes. The rocks are nice and orange. The sky was nice and cool blue. There's a little bit of warmth here. This was just before sunset, and we have some nice whites. You can see this is properly white balanced. And I wanted to go for kind of a green, red, green, orange color grade. So turn on my calibration and you can see the minor tweaks we made here. We took our shadows, and you can see again, this is affecting all of the colors in our image when we play with our tint or make everything slightly green. I made my rocks that were orange a little more red, and I did that to make that red complementary to the green. And we can play with that saturation. We don't want it too saturated. And I took my green slider and I moved that kind of towards an aqua or a cyan, and I did the same thing with my blue primary slider. Everything was pretty blue, and I moved it towards kind of a green cyan here. And again, let's take a look at the before and the after. I'm going to turn down the saturation in these because it's pretty saturated. There's some strong colors in there, and that is how we created this kind of color grade or this look to our photo. Let's again take a look without calibration. Now here is the raw photo. Here's my edit and what it looked like when I was standing there in person. And here is the color grade that we added with calibration. So those are two ways that you can use your calibration tab in Adobe Lightroom. You can use it to interpret your image's colors differently and try and match other looks of cameras. And you can use it to do a holistic color grade on your image and give it a stylized, unique look. So I hope you learned something in this video. If you found it useful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Be sure to share this video with a friend that may be learning Lightroom. And until next time, get out and go shoot.